I hope that you are well and also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today we'll be doing our grade 5 English lesson on simple, compound, and complex sentences. And before we start, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. Once you've logged on to aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password, and then we're going to select the subject of language arts, grade 5. Once we have selected the subject of language arts, grade 5, then we're going to scroll down up until we get to the chapter of simple, compound, and complex sentences. All right. So our chapter is simple, compound, and complex sentences. Our subject is English language arts. Grade 5. And the lessons that we are going to be focusing on under the chapter of simple, compound, and complex sentences is the sentences simple or compound. So we're going to find out if our sentence is either simple sentence or it's a compound sentence. We're going to create sentences, compound sentences. And then also, is the sentence simple? Is it compound? Or is it complex? All right. So these are the different sentences that we also have, right? So a simple sentence, it is a sentence with only one subject and a predicate, right? So simple sentence is a sentence with only one subject and it has a predicate. And if we look at an example of a simple sentence, right? For example, it says the pitcher threw the ball to first base. So the pitcher threw the ball to first base. So if we look at the subject, right, then the subject is the pitcher, right? And then we have our predicate where we can either say it is just through or we can say through the ball to first base. And that we call a simple sentence. A simple sentence is a sentence with only a subject as well as a predicate. Then we have a compound sentence, right? And a compound sentence is two simple sentences. So it's two simple sentences that is joined by a comma and a conjunction, right? Such as and, but, or so. Predicate is like your verb. So predicate is like your verb. So subject is it tells you either who or what is doing the action within a sentence. So subject can either be a person or an animal or a thing, right, that does the action within a sentence. And then we have a predicate, right, which contains a verb. So that is why I mentioned through the ball to the first base. That is it's almost like a clause that contains a verb. There's a verb and it tells us something about the subject. So the predicate tells us what the subject is doing. So it's like the verb, right? Yeah, so it's basically the action, the phrase that shows the action. For example, right? Let me just make an example again for you. Yeah. I'm going to make an example again. Let's say this is our simple sentence, right? I'm going to use a different color. So this is our simple sentence, right? The pitcher threw the ball to first base. So our subject, right, that tells us that, or let's say the subject that does the action, right? So the subject is the person or thing that does the action, and that is the pitcher, right? So the pitcher is the subject, and the pitcher is doing the action. But now the predicate, right? Predicate is the verb phrase that tells us what the subject did, right? So the pitcher is the subject. So what did the pitcher do? The pitcher threw the ball to first base, and that is our predicate. Yes. So we can say it's like the phrase, it's like the verb phrase, or it's the part of that sentence that shows the action that the subject is doing. That shows us what the subject is doing, right? Does that give you a clear answer? Yes, it's the action part of the sentence. All right, so I'm glad you understand it. And guys, do not hesitate to ask any questions if you feel like I'm either going too fast or if you don't understand, right? We are here to learn, and the whole aim of these lessons is for you to understand. So do ask questions anytime. I will even answer a question while I am teaching, right? All right, you're welcome. All right. So that is a simple sentence. So with a simple sentence, we have one subject and one predicate, right? Tells us who is doing something, or and it also tells us the action that the person or thing is doing. But then we have a compound sentence, right? And a compound sentence is two simple sentences. So just try to think of two simple sentences. If we have they say if a simple sentence consists of one subject and a predicate, right? Now they're saying a compound sentence consists of two simple sentences, which means that we are now going to have two subjects and two predicates within the specific sentence, right? But now a compound sentence, right? It is joined by a comma and a conjunction, which means that these two simple sentences, right? It's like we are joining it to make it one sentence by adding a comma and a conjunction. The conjunction is either and, but, or so, and we use those words to connect or to join the two simple sentences, right? And if we look at an example of the compound sentences, we now gonna get to complex sentence, right? So first the compound, let me just make an example of the complex compound sentence and then we'll go to complex. Let me make an example of the compound sentence and then I'll explain the complex sentence. So an example of a compound sentence, right, is the pitcher threw the ball, right? That is our one simple sentence, right? And then we also have the batter hit it. That's our second simple sentence because the pitcher is our subject, the batter is our subject. And the predicate within the first sentence is who threw the ball? The pitcher threw the ball. So threw the ball. It tells us what the pitcher did. What did the batter do? The batter hit it, right? So then we have our conjunction and that is joining that two sentences, right? Yes, it's a part of the sentence that shows the action. It's like the phrase that shows the action. Like, for example, here we have, let me do this. Here we have two simple sentences, right? And I specifically showed that simple, like the sentence that says the pitcher threw the ball, that is one sentence, right? And then we have the second sentence is the batter hit it, meaning these two sentences can stand on its own, right? So here we have two sentences. Remember, we said a simple sentence has a subject, and the subject tells us who or what does the action within a sentence. And if we look at the first sentence, it says the pitcher threw the ball. And if you were to identify who or what did the action, then we can say it is the pitcher. So the pitcher is the subject, right? Because the pitcher is doing the action, right? If you look at our second sentence, it says the batter hit it, right? So the subject that tells us who or what did the action is the batter, right? But now we also have a predicate, and a predicate is a part of a sentence that shows the action, or we can say it's the phrase that shows the action, right? An action phrase or verb phrase, like we would call it. So now we have identified the subject already. Now we need to say what the subject does or what the subject did. So if we look at the first sentence, we say the subject is the pitcher. But now we need to you need to tell us what did the pitcher do. So what did the pitcher do? So we can say the pitcher threw the ball. So threw The ball is our predicate. And that is the part of the sentence that shows us the action that the subject did. Now we're going to the second sentence, right? Our subject that tells us who or what did the action is the better, right? Now we need to ask the question. The predicate is, we need to find out what the predicate is. So the predicate tells us the action, right? It tells us what the subject did, and the subject is the better. So now we need to ask ourselves, what did the subject do? What did the better do? And the better hit it. So hit is a verb, but hit it, that is our predicate. That is the part of the sentence that shows the action that the subject, which is the better, is doing. So with the compound sentence, we have these two sentences, two simple sentences that is joined by a conjunction, right? And it basically makes it into one sentence, right? Do you have an idea now of what a predicate is before I go on to a complex sentence? Does everybody know what the predicate is? You'll be able to identify what a predicate is as well as a subject is. All right. Okay, so let me explain what a complex sentence is, right? So we have a simple sentence, right? And a simple sentence is also a sentence that can stand on its own. And a sentence that can stand on its own, we also call that an independent clause, right? We call that an independent clause because that sentence is independent. It can stand on its own, right? So when it comes to a complex sentence, right? If you, if I'm not sure if you ever heard of the word independent, right? Independent is when somebody stands on his or her own, they do their own thing. Like, look here, I have my own bag, I don't actually need the help of other people. I can do things on my own. I can stand on my own. That's independent. Dependent, right? Is like, for example, you guys as kids, you still depend on your parents, right? So you still depend on your parents to see to your basic needs, blah, 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 meaning that you need your parents. So that is dependent, right? That's dependent. So independent can stand on its own. Dependent needs, let's say, something or someone in order to help them, right? So when it comes to a complex sentence has both an independent clause and it has a dependent clause, right? It's the same as me saying like almost like a sentence. It's like me saying it's a sentence or it's like a phrase, right? That can stand on its own. So it's like similar to a sentence, but we can say it's more like a phrase that can stand on its own. So independent, let's say it's like a phrase that stands on its own or a phrase that cannot stand on its own. It's like a part of a sentence. Or it can also be a sentence, but mainly dependent is like a part of a sentence, right? So let's say we have a part of a sentence, right, that can basically it has a subject as well as a predicate and it stands on its own, right? It makes a complete sentence already. And then we have a, let's say, a part of a sentence that does not have, that does not, it's not a complete sentence. It maybe doesn't have a subject or doesn't have a predicate, right? So it does not stand on its own. So it does not have a complete sentence. Now we have a complex sentence. So complex sentence has both independent clause and it has a dependent clause, right? So it has both independent clause and a dependent clause, right? And usually dependent clause, it sometimes starts with a subordinating conjunction. But we are going to come to a complex sentence and then I will also give you a few examples, right, of a complex sentence. Before I go on to examples also of complex sentences, does everybody understand what a simple sentence is as well as a compound sentence before we go to a complex sentence? Remember an independent clause, right? It stands on its own. It's like saying the sentence, the pitcher threw the ball to the first base, right? That is independent. That sentence is independent. It can stand on its own. Once you split that sentence, right? And then it's not going to be a complete sentence anymore. So if you're just going to say threw the ball to the first base, then that is not a complete sentence because it's missing the subject, right? Or if you just say the pitcher, um, say something about the subject, but there's no action, then it's also not a complete subject. It's not a complete sentence. So a complete sentence, an independent clause, an independent sentence, or independent phrase, or an independent part of a sentence is when it has a subject as well. It has a predicate or a verb that basically shows that this is now a complete sentence. The dependent clause doesn't necessarily have to be in the middle, right? Because you can first have your, let's say, you can first have your independent clause, and then that is followed by the dependent clause. But now, before your dependent clause starts, then it has a subordinating conjunction that now it's almost like it introduces that dependent clause. And subordinating conjunctions, it can be words like because, since, until, right? Those are subordinating conjunctions, right? And when we talk about an independent clause, right? And then an independent clause, it is a phrase like a part of a sentence, or it's a sentence that can stand alone. So this phrase, it can stand alone as a sentence, while the dependent clause, right, it cannot stand alone as a sentence. And usually this dependent clauses, it use a subordinating conjunction, or even sometimes it uses a pronoun, right, to connect clauses. Subordinating is words like because, it is words like since, it is words like until, right? That is subordinate. Like we have a coordinating conjunction, right? So we have a coordinating conjunction. And coordinating conjunction, right, is these words. It's words like and, but, or, so, right? That is coordinating conjunction. It's the word and, but, or, and so, and they join the two sentences, right? And then we have subordinate conjunction, subordinating conjunction. And subordinating conjunctions are words like, let me write it. Subordinating conjunctions are again words like I said, it is because, it is after, although. So it's basically subordinating conjunctions. It's used to join an independent clause that can stand as a sentence, as well as a dependent clause. So that word is used to join the independent clause as well as the dependent clause, right? All right. All right, so this is basically just a breakdown of simple sentences as well as compound sentences. I think for now we can go to our tutorial, which is we are on aplusstudents.ca, and we're going to the first lesson, which is the sentence simple or compound. I think what we're going to do is, I think on our next lesson, right, we are going to go more deeper into what a complex sentence is, right? I think for now, let us just focus on simple and compound sentence. And then in our next lesson, I think it's still in this week, and then we can focus on what a complex sentence is. And then we don't have to rush, right? And then we can literally focus on what it is, how it is used to join these words, and how we will be able to identify independent as well as dependent clauses within, let's say, a sentence, right? So correlative conjunctions, right? So you have like, oopsie. So you have like different forms of conjunctions. You have a coordinating conjunction, which basically joins sentences, right? Let's say two simple sentences, for example, or it can join the subject, right? Subjects. And then we have a subordinating conjunction, which we said that it joins or connects, let's say, the independent clause to the dependent clause, right? And then we have a correlative conjunction. And correlative conjunctions are words like, if you want to say, I'm not sure if I'm not saying, if I'm going to say your name correct, but if we say Prabha and Stanley, right, they are friends, right? Or if I want to say that the two of you want to do something. Now I'm using words like both of you is the same as saying Prabha and Stanley, right? It's like using the words both as well as and. Let me just I'm going to try to write it down, right? It's like saying, I'm not trying to come up with a sentence. Let's say both. Remember, if we refer to two people, right, then we can say both. Now we can say both Prabha, just an example. I'm not sure if I'm saying it wrong. Both Prabha and, or let's say both boys. I'm going to say both boys. So I'm going to say both boys, right? Or do I say both boys and girls are playing soccer? I'm not sure if I'm using this now within the correct sentence, but it's like where you use words like both as well as and, right? Because both and go together, right? Or you can say, let's say you are saying that it's words like either or, right? Or you can use words like neither nor. So, Prabha is neither a dancer nor an an actor, right? Which means that I'm saying that you are not a dancer and I'm saying you are not an actor. So Prabha is neither a dancer nor a dancer, right? Or when we use the word either or, then we can maybe say you can either get the ice lolly or you can get the ice cream, right? So you choose. So that is correlative conjunctions. Does that make sense? All right, guys. I'm just glad that you have, at least now you guys have a more, let's say, more deeper meaning of either what a conjunction is and there's three different, there's actually more, but I mean, like, that's the three different types of conjunctions. We have coordinating conjunction, subordinating conjunction, and correlative conjunction, right? All right, pardon. All right. Okay, I think let us go to our test, right? Let us go to our test on is the sentence simple or compound? Remember we said a simple sentence, it has only one subject as well as a predicate, and a compound sentence, it has let's say there's two simple sentences that is joined by a comma as well as a coordinating conjunction. And that comma and coordinating conjunction adjoins that two simple sentences, right? All right, so now we're going to say, is a sentence simple or compound? So let us go to our test. All right, we need to say if this sentence is a compound sentence, right? It says, the average American eats 3 pounds of sugar each week, or Asian pears don't change color after being harvested, but some European pears do. So, which sentence is a compound sentence? Is it the first option or the second one? Which one is a compound sentence? You remember we said a compound sentence? It is basically two simple sentences that is joined by a coordinating conjunction. So, comma and the coordinating conjunction, either and, but, or so. All right. And if we are going to choose the correct sentence that tells us which is a compound sentence, right? And then we're going to say it is the second option, which is Asian pears don't change color after being harvested, but some European pears do. All right, so well done. The second one is correct, and that's a compound sentence. Which is a simple sentence? A simple sentence. It says, Mark knitted a wool sweater and Sasha sewed a jacket. Or the second option that says, the subway runs beneath the streets of the city. So we need to say, is it option one or option two that shows us or that tells us which is a simple sentence? All right, and if we choose the correct sentence that shows which one is a simple sentence, then we'll choose the second one. So well done, everybody. The second one is correct. Which is a simple sentence? Is it option one, which says, this paragraph is too long, so I need to remove some sentences? Or is it the second option, which is, you can make a keel pen with a goose feather? You can make a kill pin with a goose feather. A simple sentence, a simple sentence. I'm going to read it again. It says, this paragraph is too long, so I need to remove some sentences. Or if is it the second one that says, you can make a kill pin with a goose feather? Remember, a simple sentence, it only has one subject and one predicate. A compound sentence has two simple sentences that is joined by a comma and a coordinating conjunction. Coordinating conjunctions are words like and, but, or, so. All right, and if we are going to choose the correct one that shows which is a simple sentence, then we will go with the second option. Remember the first option, it is two simple sentences and is joined by the coordinating conjunction so, right? So well done to those of you, right? And well done for trying the others. Now we need to say which one is a compound sentence. A compound sentence that consists of two simple sentences that is joined by a comma as well as a coordinating conjunction. It says, the woman at the post office weighs the package on a scale. Or is it the second option that says, Canadian geese are flying south, so winter must be coming? We need to choose the sentence that is a compound sentence. Option 1 or option 2? Compound sentence. All right. So if we choose the correct compound sentence, then we will choose the second option, right? Two simple sentences joined by a coordinating conjunction, which is so. So well done. Well done. All right. We need to say which is a simple sentence. A simple sentence. It says, I need to shovel the snow, or someone might slip and fall. Or is it the second option that says, now the door will wrap a bandage around, now the doctor, sorry, will wrap a bandage around the cut? We need to say is option 1 or option 2 a simple sentence? All right, then if we choose the simple sentence, we will choose option 2, right? So option 2 is our simple sentence, right? So well done. Great job, everybody. And yes, fanboys is correct, right? But for now, we are not using, for example, for nor yet, right? But well done. That is, fanboys is correct. All right, let's do the last one. It says, which is a compound sentence? Is it option 1, which is the nervous swimmer steps onto the diving platform? Or option 2, which is it is raining in the valley and it is snowing in the mountains? We need to say which one is the compound sentence. Thank you, Matthew. So we need to say which is a compound sentence. The nervous swimmer steps onto the diving platform, or the second one which says, is it raining in the valley? It is raining in the valley and it is snowing in the mountain. All right, and if we are going to choose the compound sentence, right, then we will choose the second option. All right. Okay, so today we only got to do basically the first lesson. I think next time, in our next lesson, we will do to create compound sentences, as well as we will do the lesson on is it a simple, compound, or complex sentence. So we will go more deeper into what a complex sentence also is. That will be on our next lesson, right? All right, but thank you very much, grade Vibes for joining the class. Thank you for interacting. Thank you for all the questions. Right? Remember, your questions are valid, and the more you ask questions, that also, pushes me as a teacher or tutor, right? So I really hope that you guys are going to have a good evening further. Till next time. Goodbye.